guess what? We're live.
Hey, guess what? It's Jess the Ska Kid. It's Thursday night. We're at the B&B, and on the phone with us this evening is Tim, the founder and originator of SuperNova International Ska Festival. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Jess. Thank you for having me.
You are very much welcome. I have been really wanting to speak with you since this whole festival thing started. Not just this year, but, 2-3 years ago now. When this first came to be, being in Wisconsin, we had a ska festival that died and came back and has since died, but it's exciting to speak to somebody who took it beyond just a state approach and has the whole international view. So how did you get started with doing this? Where did SuperNova come from, and how did you begin?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I was actually working in my day job, which was in Iraq at the time, like putting on events in Iraq, workshops and conferences. And I really wanted to do, when I got back in like 2013, I really wanted to do some music. And Chris Murray was actually coming around and doing some shows and was asking if anybody wanted to do a house party. And so we set up a house party, and it got too big. And so we went to a brewery, and we asked them if we could host it there. We brought Django in to open, and Kristen Forbes, and had a really good show. And then the owner of the brewery said, if you ever want to do anything again, totally 100% open for it. And that's, we kicked off our festival a few months after that.
So you name dropped a little bit there. And how do you come to just, it sounded as if you casually just know these human beings and are like, hey, just come play. Like kind of what we do. Hey, come play in our basement. So how did you establish the network to be able to successfully pull together this festival? Because planning an event is not very easy.
Yeah, well, Chris, I did not know him, but I, followed him on Facebook, and it's very personal and a very small family of ska people, So I messaged him, but there's a cultivation that you get with, obviously you guys go to a lot of shows too, and that's what I do. I've been doing for a couple decades, and you just kind of know these people, and you go to their shows and you support the music and everything, but you start putting on festivals and shows, it's pretty much the same thing. You're just taking it to another level, and instead of buying a $20 shirt, you're giving them $1,000 for a show. And so it opens up, when you start paying bands, especially, and it's a lot of reputation too. So they're getting paid, they're having a great time, we're taking care of them, and the word gets out, and it becomes easier every year to try to to get bigger acts and more people interested in what we're doing.
So when you go about setting up SuperNova, do you already have a list of, these are the people I'm going to go ask? And then do you have a submission portion for others that want to get on? Or talk about the logistics of like setting that festival up and creating the lineup.
Yeah, the bigger ones with like this year we were supposed, the one we were supposed to have, we're going to have it next year, obviously. But the number one goal was we want to get Hepcat on this. Like Hepcat hasn't been to the East Coast in 20 years, and I really want to see Hepcat, and that's to make all this worth it. That's the show I want to see. And so we made a play for them first, and then we kind of fill in behind that. So it's. Okay, now we got Hepcat. Now, I'd love to get Planet Smashers in here because I haven't seen them at all.
Ooh.
We've got bands like the Pie Tasters that are always in our lineup just because they're really good friends. We love them, and they're obviously, very talented. So there's some bands that kind of every year Eastern Standard Time's another one. They're more or less our house band. Mm-hmm. So they back Derek Morgan, they back Ringding, and they play their own music obviously too, but. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of friends that we have back every year. We try to add to it a little bit each year, and then we have an open call for bands and DJs and everything. And then that list has gone from 50 or 60 to like 300 or 400 bands now. So that becomes a little bit harder But that's, anyway, it's kind of just, I wish there was more of a panel that picks it. But I'm the one to blame or to credit.
Did you say you wish there was a panel?
like more, there probably needs to be like more insight from the other people in the community, but I don't know. I kind of put the show together I want to see, and then hopefully other people want to see it too.
So with that kind of being said, talk about the history of Supernova for those who are just tuning in and listening, and who, I mean, most often avid ska fans do their research and they read up and they follow things from like inception. However, we have a lot of listeners who are from all over the place who might not know what this is. So talk to the listening audience about the history of Supernova, when it first began, kind of its first death and its resurrection.
Yeah, so we started actually, with the show that I mentioned, and then in the summer of 2014, we started something called the 2014 Brew Fest, which is like the worst idea for a name ever, because it doesn't tell anybody anything about it at all. We were just we were at a brewery, so we named it that. And then as we were doing that, we found out there was another festival in town in Fredericksburg, Virginia, that had the exact same name. So we were kind of cursed with that. So that was a one-day festival. We had 4 bands, I think. It was Pie Tasters and Chris Murray and the Snails, and a lot of fun. And a lot of this is, I'm sure that you know this too, but it's just trying things that you don't know exactly what you're doing when you start all this, and like what's needed and what permits are needed, and you kind of figure it out as you go along. And that's what we did in that first year. So then when we hit the second year, we called it the Virginia Ska Fest. Mm-hmm. And we had the Slackers and the Pie Tasters and Spring Hill Jack and, a lot of other bands. And it was a 2-day festival at that point. And that was much more, bigger festival, very well attended for this little brewery, and had a good time. But each time we were losing money on this. And so we decided, we were looking at like, do we take it forward? Do we don't? We don't. And then the owner of the brewery passed away, unfortunately.
Eek.
And so then that kind of became an excuse to, let's take a year off and think about it. And then we took it to a whole nother level for 2017. We rebranded SuperNova. We moved to this huge fairgrounds. We brought in, bands like Sonic Boom 6 and Derek Morgan. We brought him in from Jamaica, and
I know.
Really kind of made this, kind of what it is today. That's kind of the starting point was in 2017, and the Skents came in and things like that. And so, had a good time. We still lost even more money on that one. And 2018, we lost money on that too. But it's a lot of fun, and really enjoyed it. And after 2018, we're like, we should probably just make this the last one. And then we're kind of cursed with the weather too, because there were a lot of thunderstorms and hail and all kind of things that were coming through, every year. Mm-hmm. And so we're like going to take a break, and we saw a really great outpouring of support from the community. So we spent, we moved in 2018, and then in 2019 we just brainstormed all year. How do we want to keep doing it? What can we do? And we did this Kickstarter last fall, mm-hmm. and was successful beyond our wildest dreams, and really fantastic. We had momentum, and tons of ticket selling, and like a lot of support in the community here, where we're going to have it in next year. And of course, coronavirus comes in when we finally get momentum for the on the financial side, as well as the passion and the interest from the ska people. So, but I think we'll get it back. And we were for this year, we decided to kind of pivot a little bit, like everybody else is doing, and do a virtual show. And so we opened it up to, we reached out to about 70 bands, and I was thinking, well, maybe, you want to do a live song? Do you want to do something that you've recorded in the past, and, or make a video or whatever it is? And we reached out to 70 bands, and I'm thinking maybe we get half, and then we got every one of them and more that came in. So we're going to have at least a 6, potentially 7 or 8 hour show on Saturday that Cooley Ranks is going to be hosting. We've got guests from, Mustard Plug and Big D and, a whole bunch of up-and-coming bands that are going to be guests for him. And then we're going to be doing videos throughout for all these bands from, Less Than Jake and some of the, that's our biggest one. But, every band in between and a ton of great up-and-coming bands and international bands that would be part of that.
I mean, I've been really impressed that so far you haven't let the bastards drag you down, and that you've continued to be innovative in how your approach to running this festival is. So, festivals are very expensive, and if you don't have backing, like you said, you lose money, and you go, oh, but why are we doing this? And you do it really because you have a drive to do it. I have loved that during this, quarantine, you've done the quarantine sessions on Saturday nights. So speak a little bit, I guess, about your continued innovation. Like, instead of just, okay, we're going to wait, what made you think, or how much coordination went into, now we're going to move this to a virtual platform?
Yeah, well, a lot of this is the people that you know, and so for this one, I was trying to think of like how the chain of events happened, but I'm like, we're going to do virtual, and then I put it online, like on the SuperNova site, like if anybody knows how to do this, like interview format and everything, like let me know. And John Bravo reached out from Root King,
yes,
Mr. Kingpin, and he said, I know how to do. He's an expert on all this and so very helpful. And he's the one that kind of jumped in, and then I said, well, I don't want to interview people. I have no skills in that at all, and I'm terrible, and that would be the worst idea. And so we reached out. Cooley was going to be our MC this year anyway. So I said, well, maybe Cooley will do it. And he was completely up for it. And he's obviously, you've seen him before, but he's just, as animated as he can be and the perfect guy in that spot.
Yeah, we've interviewed him on the show, and during our sound check, he was like, well, I hope you did your history. I said, I hope you've done yours too, sir. And at the end of the interview, we got yeah, you got me there. I should have read a little bit more. So, yes, we've become real good friends with Mr. Ranks. So I'm excited, and I can't wait for next year. It's going to be, a positive. We get to plan more of a vacation around it, which will be super awesome. And I think that'll afford you guys an opportunity, too, to have probably more grounded anticipation as to what's going to occur, yeah?
Yeah, I think especially after all this coronavirus, I think everybody's just, they want to get back to that. They miss the live music, and yeah, and I think with all this in person, it like kind of brings everybody, it humanizes everybody a little bit more, I think. And with Cooley, like I knew him a little bit, but not really. And this is kind of, we've got to know people a lot better. I was just messaging Linval from the specials, like maybe we can get Linval one weekend. That'd be great because I know he's home. And I messaged him like, I start work at like 9 o'clock, and so I messaged him about 8:30 in the morning and like, hey, would you like to be on this? And the phone rings and it's Linval. And I'm like, holy shit, like Linval is calling me. And anyway, I was like, I got to almost 9 o'clock and I'm like, I felt so terrible that I'm going to have to hang up on Linval and go to work. But anyway, I think it's a lot of bands, and this is kind of the thinking that went into this weekend is, can we, do something a little bit bigger? And so we decided to do a fundraiser for Alpha Boys School, Alpha Institute in Kingston, Jamaica, to help their music program.
So how is that going to work? Talk a little bit about that. It is a fundraiser, so where can people find this? Where do they donate? What are the logistics here? Tell us, Tim.
Yeah, so the whole thing for the actual festival itself is going to be on Facebook live stream. So Facebook.com/SuperNova Ska/live is going to be the link, and we'll put it on the event and everything. But obviously, the whole thing is free. The bands are donating their time. The fundraiser itself, we're aiming for $6,500, which would provide instruments for the music school, and it would also provide a scholarship for one student for the entire year for room and board and food and the education, everything that comes with that. So that's our goal. The fundraiser itself is on GoFundMe.com/Alpha-Supernova, or you can just do Alpha Institute search at GoFundMe.com, and you'll see it in there.
You guys did a GoFundMe, or a Kickstarter, excuse me, to get this back up and running. Before this, Kickstarter, I don't know, what would you call fundraising event? Promotional fundraising event? There you go. What was your funding source to have this happen before?
Before we depended on ticket sales only. Oh. And so the tickets for this, like we had a lot more levels of things that people could get for the Kickstarter. The tickets were like a little bit more expensive than they were in 2017 and 2018. I think before we were charging like $40 for the weekend, and these were like $60 for the weekend. So we got a little bit of a bump from that. But it's the really great thing about the Kickstarter was it gave us a lot of money up front, which the other one, people are buying tickets up till May. We would have it in Memorial Day weekend, and people would buy tickets the day before. And it really stresses us out. So this provided a lot of funding up front, and then we were able to pay all the bands like before the new year.
Yay!
Really great, until coronavirus happened. And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to move this whole thing to 2021, and I just hope, people don't cancel, everybody doesn't cancel their tickets, and we have to refund everybody, because what I don't want to happen is we have to go back to the bands that are, they're now at home and they're struggling, and
right.
I don't want to go to them and say like, hey, I need all that money back.
Yeah.
So we were, the whole community was so supportive though, and I think out of all the tickets that we sold, we maybe had $2,000 or $3,000 in refunds.
Oh.
For people that were, and again, they are, people that were writing us were really apologetic and they needed the money, and that's understandable. So not complaining, but the whole community was really out of, just beyond supportive.
So when you started this to now, would you say that you've seen a growth and kind of a rebirth of the ska scene?
I think so. I mean, in 2014, I don't, and that's one of the reasons we were thinking of doing it in the first place. I started in the 90s in ska, and I really got involved in it in Japan and saw how big it was, and came back to the U.S. as it was just, that whole wave was taking off, and seeing these massive shows, and fell in love with it, in all that era. And, you see it in 2014, and you go to a place, and your favorite artist is playing to 4 people, and it breaks your heart to see that, so it's, can we put this together? Can we promote it? Will people come to it? And the really, we have a great ska scene in DC, in the Baltimore area, but what really I think is kind of driving Supernova is like interest from all over the country, all over, we got people flying in from all over the world now.
Yes.
So it really, that's the differentiator, because, in the place that we're here now, there's like nobody that would, maybe we can get 10 or 20 people to care, but it's going to be everybody coming from DC, coming from California, Seattle, even the UK, and we got people coming as far as Singapore and Russia.
Yeah.
For 2021.
That's crazy.
It's insane. Yeah.
How do you feel, Tim, going, I'm going to start this thing just to kind of like say fuck it and bring ska back, to holy shit, we have Hepcat coming to play, as well as, hold on a second, it seems like 150 other bands.
Yeah. It is, it's insane, and it's also, it's really humbling that we had this, it was probably 2 years ago, and we were doing the 2017 show, and for me, it's like a stupid little ska festival. It's not that big a deal. And one of my friends was on the what do you call it, that booze cruise thing that goes out with Blog and Molly.
Oh, yeah. I forget the name of it. Yes, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
The Salty Dog Cruise.
There you go.
And so the Scatolites were on that, or people from the Scatolites were on that, and they were complaining they didn't, lamenting that we didn't reach out to them and ask them to the festival. And I'm just like, holy shit, like,
Goddamn.
This is, I would have asked you. I just feel bad that, it's like a crappy little festival and we're not that, anyway, it kind of took off a little bit, and now it's like, okay, you know what? I think I can reach out to the Mad Caddies now and ask them to come in and play, and I can ask, we can ask Derek Morgan, and we can, we've got a little bit of credibility now, and Ken Booth to reach out to them, and we actually we were close to finalizing with Ken Booth, and it just kind of didn't quite get there in the end, and we were able, we were just kind of going through. We want to get some of these kind of older Jamaican legends and, coming in and kind of, finding this kind of mixture too, where we have, Dorian Schaefer in 2018, like playing with Western Standard Time, and all these people get to meet her, up and coming musicians, and kind of get that mixing of generations and kind of appreciation of kind of what she's done.
Yeah.
Or Derek Morgan, what he's done.
It's awesome. I am impressed that, like, you have been able to do this. As far as, like, seeking things, are you just, like, kind of cold emailing or calling people and going, hi, I'm so-and-so, I run this thing, I want to do this, can I pitch this idea?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, that's what was it? I'm trying to think of the other. It was Bite Me Bambi and 2:30. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but they were doing like dance hall crashers. And I was like, holy shit, that is amazing. And, maybe that would be fun on a Friday night just to do the whole album.
Ooh.
A dance hall crasher cover.
Yeah.
With both of those bands too, bring them in and have them play. But, just kind of brainstorming what would be fun to see. That would be a little bit different than, not the same old thing that everybody's doing.
How much help, Tim, do you get with this? And how stressful is it as it becomes closer to festival day?
Yeah, it's probably almost wrecked my marriage a few times.
Oh.
It hasn't, but...
is that where you just show her the flag? Look, baby, it's a checkerboard. The black and white touch, we gotta come together.
It becomes... Yeah, it's like when it's done and it's in the rearview mirror for a couple months, it's like, okay, that was amazing. Oh my God. But when you're in the moment, it's like, you're about ready to kill each other. And with the help itself, like we have a ton of great friends and volunteers, and they come together every year. So we've had just a small circle of friends and their friends, and, they're serving the band dinner, and they're taking tickets and, helping with security. And, my wife's best friend he runs, the music part of this. So he's doing all the production for us. And, so it just becomes kind of a family affair. And, the hard part about moving down to Hampton is a lot of our volunteer network was in Fredericksburg, which is 2 hours away. So we were trying to figure out, okay, hey, we'll get them Airbnb and move all these families down here so they can help out, because they know what's up, and they know how to do all this stuff already. So
it really does take a whole village.
Great network.
Yeah. And I think that's important for those who are listening, watching, and paying attention. Something that we, often ask the bands who come through our doors is, how do you book, yada, yada. And the underlying theme is that it does take a community of everybody, one, and two, just ask. Like, humble yourself just to reach out and ask, because the worst they can say is no, but a lot of times it's going to be sure. And the success from that, I think, is evident. It came back with a vengeance. That kind of leads me to this question. Are you going to play it by ear, year to year? Or do you think because of how well received this one is that we'll have a 2022?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Like we've been talking, like it's such a huge undertaking. Like that maybe every other year might be the solution. Mm-hmm. Where it gives everybody time to miss it a little bit, and then you can fundraise a little bit easier. And if you ask everybody every year, it might get monotonous a little bit. And,
I like
you know,
that.
but, you know, that's kind of the thinking right now is like maybe every other year, and then that would be, you know, might be a little bit easier ask for people.
So on an organizer side of things, coming up with, say, the imagery that is this year's Supernova and the merchandise that you have available, who did you reach out to do those things? Do you have an artist, or did you just say, I'm going to put together this image and use it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I had a colleague at work for the longest time, and when we moved down to Hampton in Virginia, him and his wife and his son came down, and his son was an art student named Ian, and they came down, and he, you know, Richard's like, well, if you ever need any art done for the festival, you know, like don't, you know, reach out to him because he's a really good artist. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And anyway, he sent me like his portfolio, and like, holy this guy is really, you know, he's 20 years old, but he's just beyond talented. And so we just threw a couple ideas his way, and it came back better than we could have imagined. So that's kind of where we landed. And, you know, we were doing the artwork for the indoor festival, the virtual festival, and he put all that together for us. And he added even the logo for the brewery is an ouzelfinch, like this crazy duck-like creature.
Yeah.
And he put him in spaceship flying. And then when we went to quarantine, he put a little mask on him. And anyway, it really gave us a cool style that we're going to definitely keep going forward after this year.
Cool. How about merchandise? Now, for those of who might have missed like the Kickstarter and now have, you know, they'll have an opportunity next year to buy tickets? Will you? Yeah,
actually, we still have tickets up for sale, but we don't expect anybody. There's no need to buy them right now.
Right.
But we still have the tickets up on Eventbrite, so people can buy them. As far as merch goes, we had we were getting ready to order shirts and everything for 2020, and then coronavirus happened. So we go through Obi Fernandez from Western Standard Time, or not Western Standard Time, but Westbound Train.
Mm-hmm.
He runs a printing company up in New England. So he did stickers for us and did our T-shirts for the Kickstarter, and you know we had some really cool designs ready to go, and I was thinking about even doing them for the virtual festival, but it's mailing them is such a pain in the butt, especially with coronavirus. I don't want to go to the post office when I was doing the Kickstarter. I was at the post office for weeks on end mailing stuff out, and I don't. They make it like, you know, it's obviously masked for good reason and everything, but it's long lines and they have a lot of checks and you can't come in, you know, so it would be a pain to mail.
I'm not dealing with the bullshit to mail you stuff. We
get
it.
Exactly. If it wasn't for the mailing, I could do, the sky's the limit.
So when guests arrive or when festival goers walk through the gates of Supernova, what is it that they can expect with your festival?
They can expect lots of music. Actually, in 2021, we've got 2 stages set up. So we're going to have, when one stops, the next one starts. So really nonstop music from noon till 10 p.m. every night, which is great. And the bands just get better. Like I have such a hard time like putting these bands in the lineup because every one of them could headline. Right. You know, there's probably like 20 headliners in there, and just trying to figure out where they're going to fit in the schedule. And we have an amazing light show like with the festival, and so once the sun goes down a little bit, then you know those are the pictures that are kind of iconic from the festival. And so we're really kind of picky on like, okay, who's going to be on those stages, and you know what photos are. Anyway, it's gonna be an amazing thing. I think our festival, more than any, like the bands are a big part of it from the fan perspective as well. So we've got, you know, say 30 bands and tons of people there that are mixing with the crowds and mixing with the fans, and you know the bands are fans of the bands that are playing too. So
with your 2 stages, Cooley being the MC, is he going to run back and forth from stage to stage? Or are you going to have him on one stage as the main stage and then the side support stage is the one that goes on next, in between? How is that working?
Yeah, so in years past, they've been separated pretty far, so that was not possible. But in 2021 they're going to be side by side. So he'll be on a main stage, and then he can just do the introductions from the main stage for the second stage.
Oh, gotcha. So how about with lineup and struggling as to who fits where? When you release like to the bands and communicate with everybody, here's what's going to happen. Do you have people who are like, no, I kind of want to be moved up, or this is happening, so I need to be moved down, or can we play in this spot? Do you get a lot of that?
A little bit. People are really accommodating, and there have been some pushbacks in the past, but whenever I look at it, I'm like, you know what? They are actually right. Like that band deserved more time on the stage than what we had given them, and but most of it is, okay, we're going to be there on Sunday. Can we do Sunday instead of Saturday? Like, sure, we'll mix it up, and no problem at all. Or they're coming in that day, and they probably won't be there in time for 4, but can they do 6, or can they do Sunday instead of Saturday? Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of like the horse trading like that, but it's nothing demanding really at all.
How about festival grounds? Is this a re-entry event? And are there food trucks on site? Like, how does that work? If I'm like showing up, do I pack a picnic lunch, or what can I expect in regards to the freedom of moving around or leaving and coming back?
Yeah, so that's something that we've been thinking about a lot, and especially even before coronavirus, we're like, people can bring in their own. They want to bring in their water bottles. They want to bring in their lunches and pack a lunch. That's perfectly fine. It's re-entry as well. So we're on this little spit of land between a huge bay and the Chesapeake Bay. So we're on the water, which is fantastic. But you can be within a half a block. You're at the beach on the Chesapeake Bay, and there's beaches there. So we're going to allow people to come and go, and then you can just go over and lay on the beach for a while if you want to take a break from the music. And the grounds themselves at the brewery are huge, so you can kind of get away from it if you want. You can go back to the hotel or whatever you want to do, but it's it's come and go all day, and kind of try to make it as open and free as we can.
So the last, I would say, real music festival we went to, that was outdoors anyway, was Reggae Fest in Chicago. And they went through our bags. They searched all of our property. We couldn't bring food. We couldn't bring any, like I had aerosol, or I guess spray, sunscreen. Like, what are the rules? What can people bring and not bring? How heavy is security? That sort of thing.
Yeah, there will be bag checks just because of the world we live in. So there's bag checks, but it's no alcohol allowed in. There's alcohol being sold there and everything, and it printed as no drugs. So those are the no weapons. So that's kind of the rules. The bag checks are, they'll be going all day. And that's the only drawback to kind of coming and going is there will be bag checks on the way back in, just for, we've had mass shootings in Virginia, like close by, and several, not at festivals, but at employment places, universities.
Right.
So that's going to be something, we've got security there that, it's fine. And then when it gets dark, the city of Hampton, they want to have like 2 or 3 police to do traffic enforcement on the way out. So just directing traffic, because it's kind of a small 2-lane road that comes through there. So
clarifying question, is Virginia a legal state in regards to marijuana? Is that considered a drug? Yes. Yeah, it is in Virginia still. Just one? And they're looking to legalize, and it's legal in Washington, D.C., but it's still illegal in Virginia, unfortunately. We're on an island, too. Wisconsin is still illegal, but all of the states around us are legal. So it's frustrating. It's like, oh my gosh, like, are you crazy? Like, especially like making income on it. But can I break, if I don't like the lotion aspect of sunscreen, can I have like the SPF spray stuff, or are they going to take that? No, that's fine. Okay. That's fine. Yay! I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm going to get sunburned. They're like, you should have thought ahead. I was like, you're a dickhead.
Make me throw away my chips.
Oh, no, that's one thing we had, like, when we first went big. The fairgrounds we were at, they brought in police from like the local community. And that was our biggest, actually our only complaint from people was like, these police they were kind of just dicks about everything. And I'm the one paying them, and it's like, why do you have to be like? Why can't you be nice to people?
Because cops are dicks.
They're telling people not to smoke, and they're like, what do you care? Like, shut up! I don't care.
That is a good question. Can you?
The year after we did like kind of private security, and that worked out a lot better.
Can you smoke cigarettes?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, in some festivals you can't. So just thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
at that festival, I was not allowed to smoke, and there was no re-entry.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We did punk rock bowling in New Jersey like a couple years ago, and it was in a parking lot at the Stone Pony, and it was like 110 degrees outside, and the beach is right there, but you can't leave. Like once you check in, you can't leave without surrendering your ticket.
That's stupid.
There's no trees. It's like blacktop, and you're just sitting there baking. And meanwhile, there's a beach like right there.
Wow. Well, thanks for being a cool festival like organizer and understanding the needs of the people.
Yeah.
So, logistic wise, for those coming in, what's the mileage between if I stay at the hotel that you have available to the grounds? How far am I driving to get there? Do I have to then pay for parking somewhere, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, so the hotels, we're going to rework all that, and get a bigger hotel, because it wasn't as big as we thought it was, and it sold out right away.
Yeah, it did.
So
Goddamn.
So we're trying to get a bigger place where everybody can go, and we've got a pool, and we're looking around for that one now. But the hotels we'll pick won't be any further than 10 minutes away, depending on traffic, obviously. And then when you get there, it'll be free parking. So it's a decommissioned army base from the 1800s. So there's a lot of parking, and it'll all be free.
So, when next year, when we come back and we're big and we're a lot of people again and we're all over, give us a rundown as to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because literature came out. A post came out saying, hey, please don't, ask us for ticket sales back. We're going to do something special. So for all ticket holders, they get this show on Friday, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. So everybody that have tickets, you can just hang on to those, and then you'll get a free Friday show as well.
Woo! So the Friday show is going to be where for those ticket holders?
It'll be the same exact place. Okay. So it'll be the brewery. I haven't talked to the brewery yet.
Stop asking me questions I can't talk about yet.
They've been super busy. A lot of the breweries, and we've got cider houses and breweries and everything here, and a lot of them have struggled, obviously, because clientele and everything has kind of dried up. But they were really kind of forward-leaning, and as soon as this stuff went down, they started delivering to people's houses, and then around different states, and got, really, not only did they maintain, but they actually grew as far as staff and everything for the brewery. And so they've been featured. They were on a couple different TV shows yesterday, nationwide.
Cool. About
just kind of forward-leaning, just new thinking that they're applying in COVID and everything. And anyway, it's really good. It's a husband and wife that run it, and they're just beyond phenomenal.
So, getting back to the lineup, what I'm curious about, you already know the show that you want to see, and that's what you put together. How do you go about finding the up-and-coming bands, or do they have to submit to you and you listen through all of these and then decide, okay, we're going to go with this group of people? How's that work for the people who aren't the pie tasters yet, or the toasters, or coolie ranks? How do people such as Hans Gruber and the Diehards, or Oveja Negra, or the Crombies get on a bill like this?
Yeah, so some of them we know about already, so we're kind of got them on our radar, and we reach out to them ahead of time, and Cat Bite's one of those that before we ever announced this, we were, talking to them and like, hey, like we love what you guys are doing. Like we're trying to put all this together for 2020. Do you want to be part of it? You don't have to answer now. And, just kind of, we do that. And then other people are, Cooley is like, hey, I love Stop the Presses. Like you got to listen to this band. They're really great. And, something like that. So it's kind of a mix of some people are applying, some things are on a radar, some is like people messaging us and, telling us like, check out this band.
So for 2022, if we're skipping a year, Oveja Negra is a band I'd like to see on the bill.
Yeah.
Just saying. The key player.
Hans Gruber, I think we had those guys actually, we talked to them in 2017 and they were coming through and they actually went to the festival.
Yes.
On the way to like another show or something. But they messaged us like maybe a couple weeks before and we were obviously like already all packed up and everything, but they just came through and went to the show for the night, which is a lot of fun. So
have you been told no by anybody that you reached out to?
Early on, yes. Lately, like, like with the Kickstarter, that was a very interesting because I felt like we're kind of going back to like having to prove ourselves again. Mm-hmm. So, we had to line up kind of with Kickstarter. And it's like, okay, well, we're getting close to the goals. I want to have the Slackers, and I want to do something with those guys. And the Slackers already have things for that weekend, but it's not 100% on that side. So they don't want to take a chance really but they ended up doing that. Like, okay, we'll take a chance on you hitting this goal. And, and we ended up bringing them not only to the festival on Saturday, but we were able to loop them in for a Friday night show at this cool retro 1950s bowling alley.
Yes.
So we were like, okay, how about we do both of these shows? We'll put, anyway, it's a bigger chunk of change. It makes it a little bit more worth their while to come down. And we were talking to the Mad Caddies about doing something very similar. It's like, can we, if we hit this goal, can we, can we
pretty please with a cherry on top, come do this.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think we had a really good relationship with it, like at least back and forth, and we ended up going with the Slackers, and then we actually hit some of the goals. We could have brought in the Mad Caddies, but I was like, okay, we probably need to hang on to some of the money and, get some of these other things taken care of, these other expenses, and, we could save the Mad Caddies for the next year. So
you gave me a list, so that the next hour I can play some of the up-and-comings, but just off the cuff here, Tim, who are your up-and-comings that people should be aware of at this festival? Who are the bands that people most definitely should not leave and they need to check out at Supernova 2021?
Well, I already mentioned Cat Bite, which if you've not heard them, they've got some really... they're friends from way back. Tim Hildebrand was in the Snails. He played our very first show. Him and his wife both they're both in the band and they got engaged on our stage in 2017. Mm-hmm. So we've kind of got like a family thing going with Cat Bite. But Loving Poppers is another one. Jorge from the Pipe Tasters put all that together. And they are just beyond phenomenal. And it's kind of a more reggae. But it's just one of my favorite bands, and their last album was the best album of last year that came out. And then I also mentioned Stop the Presses, and they're a band out of Brooklyn.
Yep.
And really a big fan of what they're doing. I think Allie is going to be she's going to be interviewed on the virtual festival on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So she'll be on that. And then the one that's on our virtual festival, not on our real festival yet, but Bite Me Bambi is another one that really just started paying attention to them, but really like what they're doing.
So how did you come to hear about these people? Do you go in search of new music, or does it happen to pop up in your feed and then you click on it and you're like, holy shit, this was really good, so I'm going to go learn more? How do you find new music, Tim?
Yeah, well, in the old days, it used to be that they would open for your favorite bands that were coming through. And now, it's a lot more, you've got a ton of mutual friends with this band, and, people are making recommendations online, and that's a lot of it now. I do, like, every application that comes in for Supernova, I go through all the music and listen to it. So I found a lot of my, new favorite bands all through just browsing the music over the course of a couple months that comes in.
How many submissions are you getting?
We were, I think last year we were like 300 submissions, which makes it really hard because we, maybe only have like 10 or 15 slots to fill. But again, this is, it's something if we get the support and everything and we can make, I'm hoping 2021 we turn a profit, and then, we can look at expanding out to, say 3 days to make it more worthwhile for somebody to come in from Europe or come in from Wisconsin. It might be, might be the motivation they need.
I just need a babysitter.
The good news is, like, it's an outdoor festival. You can get really far away from the music, and there's a lot of kids there though, and I've noticed that too. It's like we've kind of got this. There are a ton of kids that come to the festival, at least during the day.
I think that this first one will be us, and then as that will give more time for our children to grow. If 2022 is a thing, then I think they'll be at the age where we can comfortably take them. Because we did take them to Reggae Fest, and I will tell you what, that was an experience as a parent, taking very little children to a large festival. They loved it. At the end of the night, even though we got poured on, our son looked up at us and was like, "This is the best day ever!" They got to see Toots and the Maytals. They got to see Hepcat. They got to see Charlie the Originator and Derek Morgan. And so, like, these people that I've loved as a little itty human forever, our kids have had the privilege of actually watching, live. And it's kind of amazing that it's still out there and it's still going. And I love seeing the support, I think, from our community. I feel like the ska community is growing. And that's encouraging. So I do think that this was telling this year, but I feel like if you do this again, you will turn a profit, and it will be able to be something that continues. I hope I'm not wrong, because I feel like the presence online has been so well received.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right, and I think it's like the word is getting out, and then this virtual festival. The great thing about it is we could bring in all these bands from Australia and Japan and Indonesia that we couldn't have afforded ever to bring them in. Right. And they get to be part of this, and like the word is kind of, we've just seen a ton of, European support for this now, online. And I think we were up to like 4,000 people or something crazy on the event, like either going or interested.
That's awesome.
Which is bigger than the regular event.
That's great. How about, once again, because we've had a few people come in and out of the show, Saturday, you're having an all-day online virtual Supernova, which is a fundraiser for Alpha Boys School. And where can people find that information?
You can find it on Facebook, facebook.com/SuperNova Ska. And we're going to be broadcasting at facebook.com/SuperNova Ska live. Sorry. It's on you'll find it all in there, but
and it's a GoFundMe, right? And they can donate there.
Yeah, so we'll have all that information like during the show live, obviously, but it's GoFundMe.com, and then you can just do a keyword search on Alpha Institute, which is a school in Kingston, Jamaica, that produced a lot of the ska musicians for the foundational ones, like Rico Rodriguez from the Specials and Desmond Decker and Tommy McCook and Lester Sterling and those kind of guys that really gave the base of ska, and we're trying to help that music school down there kind of keep afloat. So they've got a lot of challenges with coronavirus and funding and things, so we're trying to make a difference down there and provide a scholarship and instruments for the students.
So you're looking at raising $65,000, correct?
No, $6,500.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a little bit more attainable.
We'll go with my goal, and everybody watching is like, "Holy shit! I got to donate 100." Just kidding.
Well, I think for $65,000 we can buy the school.
Damn. So.
Just kidding.
Hey, but think about that then. I mean, you could bring so much more music to so many more people who'd want it.
Yeah, that's true. And with the school, like this year, we were trying to bring them to 2020. We're trying to bring up some of the students working in music production and have them shadow our production team that does, they do all this world-class music and comedy and, all these things around the world. So these students would be shadowing these professionals and kind of learning the trades in a real environment doing ska. And then they would, we're thinking they could play with the scatolites or things like that where they can get that experience as well.
So that's awesome. Like, it's been awesome to talk to you, Tim, because you started off with, fuck it, we're going to do a show, to, I don't know, you expanded like the whole genre kind of did. Which leads me to this question. How did you get into ska? 1, and 2, festival goers can hear how many different waves or manifestations of the genre?
Oh, yeah. Can I tell you a funny story real quick?
Yes.
So we're working with Alpha Institute, which is like this Catholic school in Jamaica, and they have all these older nuns down there that do the teaching, and so we're setting all this up, and we get the guy that I'm coordinating with, he messages me, and he's like, hey, like, I don't want to influence the festival and like what you're doing with he's like, but can I, the nuns want to tune in for like the first hour, is there a way to kind of get a list of the bands? I just want to make sure that, because all these older nuns and these kids are watching. And anyway, so we had Mephistopheles in the first block or so.
We're just going to move them down.
What's that?
I said we're just going to move them a little bit. No.
Shift a little bit. No, we and there's another band, Sergeant Cagnetti out of Connecticut, and they had a song called Murder House.
Yeah.
which is if you tune in, like, this is the most entertaining video we received. But anyway, we rejiggered it a little bit to make it a little bit more traditional at the beginning, just because we were going to have these older nuns that we wanted them to, we don't need their support, I guess, but we were supporting them, but we want to kind of make them happy and let them...
Yeah, they're Catholics. They'll take your money and pray for you. It's okay.
They're okay at the end of the day. They really appreciate it, kind of moving just a little bit, just so they can kind of get a sense of what it is. And, I lived in Japan for 3 years in the 90s, so that's... I went to this really shitty Aerosmith concert when I was there. And I grew up in the Midwest as well. I'm from Indiana originally.
Oh, you're a Hoosier.
My wife was from... What's that?
I said you're a Hoosier.
A Hoosier, yeah. So my wife and I both were from Indiana, and so we went to Japan and lived there for 3 years, and then Aerosmith came through in like 94, and it's like, oh my God, like as a Hoosier, like the Aerosmith, it doesn't get bigger than that. Yokohama, and so we go to this show, and it was the most god-awful, shittiest, like, phoned-it-in performance I've ever seen in my life. And I became, from an Aerosmith fan to, like, never listening to them ever again after that. And it kind of, like, was looking for, like, there's got to be something else out there, because this was terrible. And I was in downtown Tokyo, and they've got all these record stores in apartment buildings. So they have jazz and blues and ska and punk, and I ended up in the ska one because I didn't know what that was. And the owner there gave me Op Ivy and the Scatolites and Alton Ellis, and told me to take it home, see if you like it, bring it back if you don't, but anyway, kind of like love that. Like, what else do you got? And then just anyway, kind of took it from there, and that was about beginning of '95.
Okay, the second part of that question.
Oh, what was the second one?
I know, right? I don't even remember because I got lost in your story.
It was a two-parter. Sorry.
How many
It's been a long day. A lot of
Oh, that's right. Thank you. You were listening. God damn, I got lost in your story. How many different waves and I would say subgenres of ska can people expect to hear at your festival?
Wow. Well, the one this weekend coming up on Saturday, like I think it's everything from the first wave all the way to some crazy stuff. I don't even know if it's ska or not, but I don't really care. So we put it in.
So we got a word for that. We have a word. So
do you? What is it?
So Flip and the Combined Effort came to our house, okay? And we asked this question as to where they fell on the spectrum in regards to what wave they fit in. And they say that they don't really have a wave. They are ska adjacent because they mix hip hop with ska.
Oh.
So they're ska adjacent.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. So.
Well, there's a lot of that then.
So how about dub? You got dub? I'm going to test your skills. You got first wave, yeah? I know that. You got second wave.
Yeah.
I know that. You got third wave, which I consider the Pie Tasters, and fourth wave, which I consider bands like, I'm going to say Ferris. I don't know where people feel in that realm. Because I feel like this current run is fifth wave as well as ska adjacent. But how about, you got any dub or electro reggae?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
I'm trying to think, like, off the top of my head, there's some crazy mixes from, like, Peru and Argentina that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That are, I don't even know what, it sounds more Cuban or something, but...
Ooh, that's Latin ska. That's another wave, too. Or so says the people in Minneapolis. It's just interesting to watch the breakdown and the many inceptions of this music, because really, that ska, what grabs you, I think, is that bass line and the whole rhythm section with horn mixed in, and then you've got, that, you can take that and you can do so many things with that, which is why we have continued to see ska punk, first wave, second wave, third wave, dub, reggae. Yep, that's right, ska predates reggae for all of those listening out there. Gasps now, Bob Marley actually fucking was in a ska band before he was a reggae artist. And then, we have a friend, MC Zulu, who does electro reggae, and he's collaborated with people from Japan and India and Indonesia, and it's like trance house, hip hop, but it's all like reggae ska, and it's super awesome.
Huh, I will check that out.
You will have it.
We had one band I've been trying to get forever is this band called Shaggy Dog out of Indonesia.
Oh, yes.
And do you know those guys?
Yes.
Yeah, and they were they were very supportive. Like once upon a time, we tried to actually do a ska tour through Indonesia and the Philippines. And right when we were trying to get funding, there was a terrorist attack in Jakarta, and all of it kind of fell apart. But those guys are unbelievable following. I think 350,000 or something on Facebook. They're huge in Indonesia. Like they're selling out stadiums there.
It's really nice to watch it. So why I got lost in your story about Japan is when we started doing this show, I started as like a fuck you to the radio station I worked at, and I just kind of threw it out, like, who wants to come to our basement or send us music, and we'll do what we're doing right now. We'll record it live on Facebook, and we'll play your stuff. We had a band from Japan send us stuff called Emu Chicken, and they're really good, too. So they're another ska band to check out from Japan, if you've not already heard of them.
Yeah, that's what I have not kept in touch with people there, but this time around I was beyond like Tokyo Ska Paradise. Like we're talking, would love to. We were talking with them about coming and playing, in the next few years. But Chris Malone he's in the Pandemic out of New York.
Yep, and he's watching today.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well, Chris was so helpful. He'd just done a tour in Tokyo last year in Osaka.
Yep.
And, I reached out to him when we were doing this virtual, and I'm like, hey, you got that contact number? I want to reach out to these bands. And
you got those contacts?
Yeah, that's all Chris, though. We've got the Autocratic and the Ska band. I was trying to think of the exact title for them. I think it's Ska band, but all female, like Japanese ska band, and Autocratic is more ska punk, and we got in touch with Tokyo Ska Paradise because of him, and anyway, thank you, Chris. That was very helpful.
So this is a question I'm going to ask you because it is thrown upon me every single fucking show I ever do, and even when I go out into like the community. So what's your favorite ska band, and what's your favorite genre? Yeah, go ahead, because I get asked that every fucking week.
Oh man, that's really hard.
Right? That is really hard.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, like, if it's a deserted island, it would be different than, I mean, I think, like, the band that I've kept in touch with the most is the Pie Tasters, and probably the most shows that I've been to. Growing up in Indiana, like, I'm a big MU330 fan.
Ooh!
So
Ooh.
That's, like, kind of I was so disappointed when they came to our festival. Dan Peep, he played in my backyard a few years ago, and then played our 2015 festival, which was a lot of fun. But ME330, we got the whole band together for the 2018 show, and they played in the most miserable downpour you can ever imagine.
Oh, man.
And I was so, because in my mind, I had this ME330 show, like bright sunshine, and, it was going to be just the most amazing thing ever, and everybody's got umbrellas, and it was just miserable, but they were great.
Kif got to play with MU330. He got to play Dan P's guitar.
Oh, yeah?
We went to the 25th anniversary of Scanthic and in Chicago, and they played along with Scapone and a few really other big, Midwestern ska bands. And they're like, anybody know how to play guitar? And so we're like, this guy does, because we were standing close, and they pulled him up on stage. Now, Kif has never heard MU330. He doesn't have any clue because I'm dragging him to these shows. And he gets up there, and Dan shows him the chords, and he played with them. And it was like, ah! Ah!
Replacement guitarist.
It was super fun and really, like, I don't know, I'm a geek. The fluttery butterfly feelings when you first meet someone you really like. Well, that happens every time I go to an iconic ska show. And I'm just like, oh my God! Like, we went and saw Rhoda, and the Crombies backed her, and it was like, oh yeah, my God! You almost don't have words for some of that. Like, my first two ska CDs were the Toasters, Hard Band for Dead, and Pie Tasters, Willis. And I, went and saw the Pie Tasters, and, years later got to, at Fistful of Ska, sing in the alleyway drunkenly with them, and was like, oh my God!
That's the dude.
And the Agrolites, and Jesse from the Agrolites. So it was like, I love all of you guys. So thanks for continuing
that's
to all that.
One of my favorite Agrolites. They've been on my top of my list for a long time.
Oh, they're wonderful. How about Go Jimmy Go?
Yeah, they that was for the 2017 show, just to kind of see all that together I think that night was like Agrolites and Derek Morgan all on the same night, and it's just back to back, and they had Greg Lee was up there, so then the Pie Tasters came up their horn section with the Agrolites, and they played Hepcat songs, so anyway, it was some really special moments that that have kind of come together, and it's just because these bands are down to earth and kind of working class guys, and they're open for anything.
So just as a rundown, for the second half of this show, because we have reached and now surpassed the top of the hour with Tim, Tim's list includes The Loving Paupers, Bite Me Bambi, Catbite, Junior Thomas and the Volcanoes, and Emily Capel. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
All right. And is she from the UK?
Yeah, she's from the UK.
All right, I thought so. So that list is his pick of up-and-comers that we're going to play for you on the next hour of this show. Tim, in closing, my friend, what would you like people to know or would you like to promote anything? Shout outs to friends. Your closing words, please, sir.
Yeah, well, thanks all the Supernova fans that have supported us over the years. Especially for the people that bought tickets for 2020 and stuck with us. We're going to have an amazing 2021. And if anybody is free on Saturday night, we've got 70 bands from 20 countries doing our virtual festival. You can find more information on facebook.com/SuperNova Ska. And that starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And we should be going at least 6 or 7 hours.
So make sure that your liver is strong that day, my friend. And
don't start drinking too early.
Dance at home. So Tim, as I've been able to just slightly see the comments, because apparently I'm going blind, I'll need to like a bat and have the comments bounce back to me. We've had people listening and who say they're going to tune in from Canada, Northern Michigan, New York. So we reach people. Thank you, Tim, so much for joining us and letting me kind of talk your ear off and ask you a bunch of questions.
Oh, that's great, Jess. Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it and everything you do for Ska.
I can't wait. I don't do anything. That's the thing. I don't do anything.
Oh. You got consistency going.
I am consistent. I'm a mom. I'm like the mom of the scene. I will tell you how you need to be better. I'll help you get there. I'll disapprovingly shake my head if you don't listen to me, but still build you up. And yeah, you're right. I will be here every fucking Thursday, come hell or high water, because I believe in this. Plus, I believe in the actual message, which is unity, which is why our show is completely inclusive. For all of those who are listening out there, if you have bands that don't fall into the ska genre that you feel need airplay or should be recognized, please send them our way, because that's the whole point of growing a musical community anyway. Tim, I cannot wait to meet you next year, my friend.
Sounds great, Jess. Thank you again.
Have a wonderful evening and good night.
Okay, have a good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That was Tim.
Holy fucking name drop.
The founder and organizer of SuperNova International Ska Festival. Throughout this entire COVID experience, and because the festival got moved to next year, some really cool things every Saturday night. They've been doing a quarantine session. Cooley Ranks has been the MC and host of that and has been able to interview some really awesome bands. We've shared some of those videos on our page. You can go back through and watch those, as well as find them on Supernova's site and Facebook page. This Saturday, they are doing a fundraiser. I aimed way higher, $6,500, okay, as a goal to raise money for the Alpha Boys School, music school, so that they can have instruments and a scholarship to send people to that school to continue to learn music. Wow. And the lineup is phenomenal. I don't know how this man does it, but he's got ska on fleek. That's right, like eyebrows. So tune into that. I don't know if I have a whole day to dedicate to watching online, but I will be sharing as I am able to do that. And then next year, holy shit, because you bought tickets, look at you. Sometimes the fortune favors the brave, and
Those two are here right now.
You get to see a free show on Friday. There's going to be a bowling thing with the Slackers, which is awesome, and 2 days of an awesome festival. I didn't know Jeremiah was going. Holy fuck, my Michigan friend. I can't wait to meet you in person either. Friends, co-conspirators in the revolution, my brothers and sisters in arms, love, and unity. We're going to take a short break. Go pee, go grab a drink, smoke a cigarette. We'll be right back after a short break, and we're going to play Tim's lineup of the up-and-comers that you should know, okay?
Thanks.
Bye.